Tumblr. All right, we got Jamie Glazov with us. Yes? Yes. Okay. He holds a PhD in history with a specialty in Russian, U.S., and Canadian foreign policy. He's the editor of Front Page magazine, the author of United in Hate, The Left's Romance with Tyranny and Terror, and the host of the web TV show, The Glazov Gang. His new book, Jihadist, Psychopath, is out now. Jamie, you there?
I am here. What an honor to be here, Drew.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's really great to have you. It's been a long time since we've actually spoken, so it's nice to get a chance to talk to you. I got to say, this title, Jihadist Psychopath, and it says how he is charming, seducing, and devouring us. Man, oh man, that is a very provocative idea. Give me an idea of what is the premise of this book.
Well, it is provocative, but it's just common sense once you begin to study this phenomenon. So, Drew, for many years, I studied how psychopaths operate, and we have them in our families, we have them in our work, we have them in our neighborhood, and God forbid that we're one, because as you were saying earlier, not everybody's good. But those of us that aren't, we don't want to get caught in their crosshairs, in their web. And psychopaths have a certain step-by-step process in which they operate. They romance, they seduce, they charm, then they grasp, and then they devour. Now, when I studied this for years, that step-by-step process that they engage in, when I studied the Islamization of America and of the West, when I studied what jihad and stealth jihad is doing to us and how we are surrendering, I saw that in every single step-by-step process, it's exactly the same thing. And that's what my book shows. So, for instance, just off the top of my head, I'll give two examples. After the clasping stage, when the psychopath has you in his grasp, the psychopath has a very central tactic. He punches you in the face, then he starts sulking and pouting in the corner, and you're apologizing to him. The perpetrator becomes the victim and plays the pity card, and his victim feels sorry for him and apologizes. Very quickly, just look around what's happening. Jihad is stabbing kafirs in France, screaming Allahu Akbar. Within 30 minutes, our establishment media covers it in this way. Oh, the Muslim community is fearing a backlash. And all of a sudden, our society is apologizing to the Muslim community for our quote-unquote Islamophobia. That's one example. I can give some more examples, but you get the basic idea, Drew. It's very scary stuff.
It is scary, and it certainly has been scary to watch the kind of lying down of the West, especially in Europe, where they won't even call out a rape gang because they're afraid of being called racist. But there is another side to this, so let me put this before you, just hear what you have to say about it. When you talk about the charm of a psychopath, isn't there some kind of division in the Muslim world between those who want to take over the West and those who actually want to live in the West? Aren't there patriotic Muslims who want to be part of America, part of the West? And shouldn't we make a distinction between those two kinds of Muslims?
Well, absolutely. But just a sec, you have to be very careful with that. But I discussed this in my book. By the way, the thesis of, I know you're just being yourself provocative there with a question. By the way, this is the psychopath's agenda. This very discussion is part of the jihadist psychopath's agenda because there are groundless accusations made against us. One of the groundless accusations is that somehow where I stand, Robert Spencer stands, Pamela Geller stands, somehow we hate all Muslim people. This is a lie. It is BS. I stress this in my book. Our issue is Islam and the devout Muslims who follow it. We are not discussing all Muslims. One of the tactics of the jihadist psychopath is to conflate Islam with Muslims. No, we are discussing Islam. So there are millions of people born into the Muslim environment who have no choice whether they are Muslim or not. They go Muslim by label, by name. We have Muslim neighbors, Muslim friends, many Muslim people. There are many people even in my TV show that have worked with the Glazov gang that are quote unquote Muslim because they have the Muslim label, but they don't know anything about Sharia. They don't follow Surahs 9:5 and 9:29 running around killing unbelievers. They don't know very much about the Quran. They don't follow jihad. They don't follow those commands. Of course, there's millions of good Muslim people in our view of good, but they're considered bad Muslims by Islam because Muslims are not greater than Islam. So we have to be careful with that, Drew. We love all people. For instance, at the Glazov gang, we work on behalf of the victims of of Islamic female genital mutilation. There's 500 Muslim girls in this country alone that are the target right now, that are at risk. We're trying to save them. Am I an Islamophobe? Is Robert Spencer an Islamophobe? Pamela Geller, she hates Muslims so much that she's trying to save Muslim girls from female genital mutilation. You see how they set this up? It is a lie. We love Muslim people. We know there are millions of good Muslim people and peaceful Muslims.
Okay, well,
our problem is Islamic ideology, its violent teachings, and the devout Muslims who follow it.
Well, let me ask you about this. I'm talking to Jamie Glazov, the author of the new book, Jihadist, Psychopath. Dennis Prager says it's one of the most important books of the present time. That's quite a blurb from Dennis. I seriously believe that it is completely valid and non-bigoted to criticize ideas and ideologies. I do not think it is a bigoted thing to say, I don't like Catholic ideology because of this or that. I don't like Islamic ideology because of this or that. What I want to know, and I've talked to Robert Spencer, and Robert Spencer is a real, very incredibly knowledgeable about the Quran and about beliefs, and you too have really studied this hard. Is there a version of Islam? Is there a version of the religion of Islam that is not jihadist, that is not, that doesn't want to take down the West, that doesn't want to transform us into a Sharia society?
The first answer is no, in the sense that all four schools of Islamic jurisprudence teach Islamic supremacism. There is not a version of Islam that rejects Islamic supremacism and jihad. That's the first answer. Okay. However, Muslims are not larger than Islam. That is Islamic doctrine, and we have to face that and get over our Stockholm syndrome and face the fact that that is the doctrine of Islam. When they follow the Prophet Muhammad, they are following his actions. Study the life of Muhammad. However, this does not mean that Muslims are not capable as individuals to create their own Islam and be peaceful people, and many are. But that doesn't mean that they represent Islam. There are many Catholics, Drew, that practice birth control. It doesn't mean that the Catholic Church condones birth control. There's a difference between Islam and what it is and what individuals may do, but they may be seen as bad Muslims by Islam.
Interesting. All right. Well, now I haven't had a chance to read it. They haven't actually sent me the copy of this book yet, but I did read your previous book, United in Hate: The Left's Romance with Tyranny and Terror. Why do you think the left is so soft on Islam, especially making excuses for the jihadists? I mean, it's one thing to say, I'm against religious bigotry. It's one thing to disagree with what you just said and say, no, there is a version of Islam that's peaceful, of Central Islam that's peaceful, and you can debate that and argue about that. But the left has openly sort of, given jihadists a pass and repeatedly said things like Loretta Lynch said, we may never know the motive of a guy who blows up shoots up a gay bar, saying I'm working for Islam. Why is the left so soft on them?
Well, let me just go back for 1 second, just in terms of the discussion that we're having and the important questions that you're asking, Andrew. The very fact that that is still being discussed shows what the problem is, because many people Kenneth Levin wrote about this in the Oslo Syndrome, how communities operate under siege. We're still talking about this. After how many years has it been since 9/11? Oh, but there's a nice Muslim neighbor down the street. There are nice Muslim people. We know all of this. The issue is what Islam teaches, and many people cannot get past this. They need to believe that there is a good Islam, because once you accept the truth about what Islam really is, it's very scary for most people to face that. So during the Oslo Syndrome, for instance, many Israelis, they couldn't face the truth about what the Palestinian death cult really wants for them. So they need to believe just a little bit more land, just a little bit more money, just a little bit more hugs, and then Hamas will like us. There's a deep need for people to believe this, Andrew. Very quickly, the second part of your question is what you were talking about earlier about Cortez and the leftist mindset. The left lives in a fairy tale world. They reject God's creation. They reject God. They have appointed themselves as social redeemers. They are going to build a perfect planet. So the left wants to destroy its own post-democratic society, its capitalist society. They want ground zero in order to build their classless utopia. In order to achieve that, it makes sense that they are in solidarity with adversarial cultures and ideologies. It explains why the left was in league with the Soviet regime and with communism during the Cold War. That romance continues today with Islam because they both share those shared values of destroying free society.
Jamie Glazov, I got to stop you there. Host of the web TV show, The Glazov Gang, author of Jihadist, Psychopath, How He is Charming, Seducing, and Devouring Us. Jamie, thanks for coming on. It's good to talk to you.
Great to see you again, Drew.
I'll talk to you soon. Pretty intense. That was very intense. I got to give it some thought.